What is up, USFL and football fans? We are back with the USFL Network presents Polar Opposites, your favorite USFL debate show. I, as always, am Ace with @PocketAces_USFL on both Instagram and Twitter. And joining me, as always, is Webb. Webb, where can we find you?
NOLA Breakdown on Twitter and then USFL Network Web. We do the show every week, so vote in the polls.
There you go. We will debate. We will then, once the episode airs, we will post a poll and you can let us know who won the debate. And the debate today is
fantasy teams.
Fantasy teams.
We did our draft. Interesting draft.
It was an interesting draft.
Yeah.
So we did a USFL Network fantasy football draft for the USFL. We did it on altfantasysports.com. If you haven't, go make a league and create it on their website. We did it 1 quarterback, 1 running back, 1 wide receiver, 3 flex spots, a kicker, defense, and then 3 bench spots. But your last bench has to be your starting quarterback's backup quarterback, as we have 8 teams in our league. So you're basically stuck with whatever defense and quarterback you got. So speaking of, let's start with quarterbacks. Who did you draft?
Oh, man. Come on. Why do I got to say this out loud?
Say it.
It's not a badge of honor. No,
it is.
Clayton Thurston from Houston. So I got Kenji Bahar as well. So I got a root for the Gamblers for 8 out of the 10 weeks. So
there you go. Yeah. When we play the Breakers, you're gonna be like, I'll take my L in fantasy this week.
Exactly. But
or you're looking for a shootout. Either way works, honestly.
Well, I'm looking to pick up the Breakers defense, so no shootout. So
no shootout. Okay.
That's actually a strategy if you think about it. Like, do you take a divisional opponent because you'll see that team twice?
Oh, you're right.
If you have a quarterback, so I don't know what to do because I didn't draft a defense, so I got to figure it out. Available.
Once it becomes an option for the commissioner to go and rearrange teams, I will do that, and I will give you a defense. But I drafted Shea Patterson and Paxton Lynch, which I 100% didn't want, but as I was the 7th pick in the draft, it kind of just turned that way. So I got Shea Patterson and Paxton Lynch, which I don't love because they will be splitting time throughout the season, at least the first half of the season. So I kind of just got to pick my poison each week. Do I want the more mobile guy or do I want the pocket passer? We'll see. I don't know. It's a crapshoot. But moving on from there, running backs. Who did you draft at running back?
I got Stevie Scott from Michigan, and then I got Jordan Ellis, the Thunder, in the Thunder and Lightning backfield. So for the Breakers, so he's going to be a touchdown savage. So and then Stevie Scott is the Bull, so I love him. So I was happy with that pick. But who'd you get?
Well, I went with a much larger running back room. I took Madre London of the Pittsburgh Maulers. I took Mike Weber of the Generals out of Ohio State. I took Tony Brooks James out of Oregon for the Stallions. And who's my last one? And then Mark Thompson, because I had to be a homer and grab at least one of the Gamblers running backs. And I think Mark Thompson is going to be an absolute workhorse in this offense. So I'm super glad about it. Tony Brooks James, absolute lightning in a bottle. The guy is so fast. He reminds me of LaMichael James, which is funny enough. They both played at Oregon and both have the name James. And then Mike Weber, we saw what he could do at Ohio State. The guy is great. And Madre London, that was my sleeper pick. And I took him first overall on my team, the 7th pick. But he was the ELF MVP last year. He ran over 2,000 yards, had some ridiculous amount of touchdowns. And they only have 2 running backs on the Pittsburgh team, and they're going to run the entire time. So I really think that he could light it up. And I'm super excited about that. It could also crash and burn. But we'll see.
Yeah, I think we redid last week's episode when we put the offensive weapons for the North. We both said Devon Smith, and obviously that all changed when rosters were officially the transaction.
It's a wash. We both picked him.
Madre London, I really feel Madre London would be on our list for the weapons.
100%.
Now, so like it's not a downgrade for you. It just makes our episode look a little worse. So
a little worse. And then for the USFL Network website, which is coming out soon, my brother Maverick and I, we each wrote an article. He covered QBs. I covered running backs. And the thumbnail picture for my article is Devion Smith, as he was my number one. So that whole thing fell apart. But Madre London would probably be top 3 if I were to redo it now.
And
but
I actually think my top 3 actually are on our 2 teams. You've got 2 of them. I've got 1 of them. So
is it Mike Weber and
Madre London? I love that.
Madre London.
Yeah, and then I got Stevie Scott. So, but
I prefer Reggie Corbin, and he's on neither of our teams. In the backfield for the Panthers, I prefer him.
I hear you. I
think it's not just because that's my boy.
I got you. What about wide receivers? What do you got?
All right, wide receivers. I took Eli Rogers. That was totally by an auto pick. So I got, which I did not mean to do, but we made the rule in our league that if you drafted somebody who was no longer on a team, because the rosters have not been updated on the Alt Fantasy Sports website, you got their replacement. So I actually did draft Devion Smith at number 7, knowing that I was taking Madre London. But I did not mean to take Eli Rogers, because now that means that I have Rashard Davis out of JMU, who's a very small school guy. We haven't really seen him prove himself, but who knows? The guy is actually a great returner, super fast, and pretty good hands. So maybe I got a sleeper without even meaning to.
Do you know another small school receiver that played in a Todd Haley offense?
Who?
Antonio Brown. He turned out pretty good, man.
That's fair.
Yeah, so
they're kind of similar, not too big, but real shifty, run good routes. But then I also got, let's see, John Franklin III out of Tampa Bay, which
That's your boy, man. That's your boy. You talk about him every episode.
I do talk about him every episode, and especially since the new rule came out with the double pass. I think that he 100% is going to throw at least 3 touchdowns in this season.
Wow.
Let alone he's an absolute physical freak and athlete. He's going to be a good receiver. And now that Eli Rogers is no longer on that team, John Franklin III looks even better, and he looks even better because of the rule change. But then also I got DeAndre Overton out of Philadelphia, and I think he's really good. I just thought that was a decent pick. And I think that's my last wide receiver. I went running back heavy because I think the USFL is going to be running back heavy.
All right. Well, Overton is my boy. That's a Clemson guy. So that was actually my Stars player.
I thought you'd like that.
Yeah, that was great. My receivers, I've got 5. I've got Devin Gray from Philly. So I'll trade you Overton for Gray if you want at any point.
I think I'm okay.
All right. And then Delvon Hardaway from Pittsburgh. And then I got the New Orleans Twins, Taywan Taylor and Jay Adams. Don't call him Jonathan. I know his name is Jonathan, but it's Jay Adams. Do not call him Jonathan. Personal.
You just know everybody on that team so well.
Personal experience on that. But Tyler Simmons from the Gamblers, which I don't know too much about Tyler Simmons, but if he becomes Thurston's favorite target, I got double the points. So
Thurston's thirsty.
Yeah.
Yes, but then from there, tight ends, I think you have many more than I have. I only grabbed 1.
Oh yeah. That's probably where my roster moves are going to come for the defense and the back.
Dropping some tight ends.
Yeah, Nick Truesdell from New Jersey, Daquan Hampton from Tampa, and then Joey Magnifico from Michigan.
Yeah,
I'm not thrilled with all of them, but it gives me some flexibility with moves. So,
well, there's a spot I know I 100% beat you at because I took Sage Surratt for the Birmingham Stallions, and that guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he and his brother, they have played basically every position in the game of football. And while he is a tight end, he basically plays receiver. So I think he's one of the few tight ends that I would actually take, especially in a league like ours where we don't have a specific tight end spot. We have 3 flex spots. So if you maybe can't get a guy that you want in there and you can get one of the top tight ends, then you use him. And I think I got him, especially since Bug Howard is no longer in the league.
Well, he has the tight end has to be a wide receiver. You know what I mean? They have to be. They can't be the pure tight end. Get a couple catches. They have to be a weapon. So,
which is a lot of what you saw in this league. Yeah. You either saw someone who was taken who was a glorified lineman and they were going to block the entire time, entire Michigan Panthers tight end room, or you saw a guy who basically played wide receiver. There isn't really a Travis Kelce, George Kittle can do it all kind of guy. There's really that you pick your poison, and if you drafted someone who's just blocking, I feel terrible for you, and you are wasting.
I have one, so it will be my roster move, but
yes,
that's all right. The funny thing is this draft went by really, really fast, right?
It was so fast.
And you're still learning it, so you got roster moves to make. You got a couple weeks, so
I kind of like it. Everybody kind of got mad. It turned into a lot of auto drafting, especially midway through the draft. But I think that got people some players that they didn't know they needed because we didn't know all the names. There's a lot of names that we don't know.
Yeah.
And then also it makes waivers that much more important. And I think that's where the fun of fantasy football is, and that's where you win.
So on alt fantasy, I know we're doing where we have a budget.
Fab, yes.
Yeah, is alt fantasy all of them are fab or no?
No, there are two options. You can either do traditional waivers or fab. But in leagues this small with this few people, I think fab is a very interesting and fun way to go about it.
Yeah, it should be interesting. We'll see. We'll see who brings home the belt.
We will see, and we will see if I can trade my quarterback. But those are our fantasy teams. This was episode 4.2 of Polar Opposites. Let us know who you think has the better fantasy team and who will have a better record in the USFL Network Fantasy League, which we will be updating periodically through the season and letting you know how we're doing. Yeah. So, again, as I did last episode, Fedora tip.
Let's go.